Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
It's lights out and away we go.
Alberto's got away beautifully at the start of the great race.
Who's that got off?
Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc.
Welcome to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, brought to you by ProKarts Race Centre.
Far enough back, he's going to make the lunge down the inside.
The ultimate pit stop,
The safety car is coming in
fueling your passion for motorsport.
with an emotional moment that means everything.
All of the latest results, analysis, and interviews.
Roar the drivers on to the final lap of this race.
I'm Jamie Lemura, motorsport enthusiast, historian, and media presenter.
And I'm Lee Harrison, motorsport professional, Sprint Master Karts race driver, and Formula One alumni.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Negative Camber, the motorsport show. And for the next couple of weeks, we have plenty of content on with the Adelaide 500 not too far away. We've got our special guest tonight, Todd Hazelwood, who will be joining us. But across the desk from me, as always, resplendent as usual, Mr. Lee Harrison. Hello, my friend.
Good afternoon.
How are we?
Yeah, look, not too bad for a Sunday afternoon, and we've got to witness a pretty epic Las Vegas Grand Prix as well. Nice hours. They should move every European race earlier in the morning as well, so we can get it in the afternoon like this. This is great.
Yeah, it was a great race. Probably the first one I'd seen live for, probably just after the Europeans swing or Japan or something like that. So, great race for everyone. I think the much hyped, much talked about, much unloved Las Vegas Grand Prix, which we'll dissect a little bit later on. But can't complain in terms of the quality of the racing. Probably can complain if you're a punter with ticket prices and what happened on the Friday or the Thursday over there in America. But we'll cover that shortly. But how has your couple of weeks been, my friend, since I've last seen you?
Yep, it's been absolutely chock-a-block. I've been at the track, I think, on 4 days out of the last 10 work days, so that's been crazy, and then all the other work in between as well. And yeah, big weekends with the girls. We went out and went to a Spellbound festival last week out at the port there, so all the witches and Harry Potter themed style markets and stuff like that. So
was your mum in attendance?
Nah, she wasn't, but she was definitely upset that she didn't get an invite.
So that's right up her alley.
Yeah, my mum loves a witch or two. But yeah, so it's just been a bit chaotic over the last couple of weeks, but I guess it is that time coming into Christmas. It really ramps up everywhere.
I could see Shay playing with like a crystal ball and trying to dictate fortunes and stuff like that. Was that, or tarot cards or something along those lines? Is that up her forte? Or
no, I don't think I've ever seen her whip out a crystal ball unless she has that hidden in the closet somewhere and waits till I'm away for a week or whatever. I mean, she was away for all of last week as well, so maybe that's where she was refining her crystal ball skills.
She'll probably use it to throw at you.
more than likely. There'd be more than one, and they would be projectiles.
Her basketball days are behind her, but she's still using the balls for her fame. So
those ones hurt a little bit harder. They're a bit more solid than a basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess when you say you've been absolutely flat out, so on face value, let's say, to the general person that's not embedded within, say, what you do, they'd say, well, school's in vogue. You'd say your Monday to Fridays are generally pretty quiet at ProKarts. So, what do you do during the day there? And then what's led to all this activity at Southerns? Yeah,
so obviously a business doesn't run itself. It needs someone to keep the wheels turning over, and lots of tidying tasks. And while you say that school's in vogue, well, that's all well and good for the younger generation, but the older generation still work. People still have time off, and especially the hospitality workers who have a Monday and Tuesday off. So Mondays and Tuesdays are still pretty steady with all the hospitality workers. They come in on their days off, and then all the rest of the stuff that's got to go on: general cleaning up, a little bit of painting here, screwing tyre walls together, making the track a little bit more user friendly for the staff and for the drivers. Facebook, getting all the social media posts out. Facebook, Instagram, coming up with content for them. We've got a video guy, so sitting with him and working out, what the next lot of videos is going to look like.
Satoshi,
yep. And then, Yeah, we've got the race go-kart stuff as well. So we've actually sold a couple of brand new Soddies in the last few weeks as well. So I've been frantically trying to get them ready to go. Their owners want them by the end of this month. The Port Lincoln go-kart track's opened up as well. So we've had a few phone calls for people wanting to buy second-hand karts from Port Lincoln. So I've been preparing second-hand karts and getting them ready to go on track. So all they need to do is put fuel in. So then there's the maintenance side of things. That's going really well. Lots of people dropping their karts off just to have, sprockets changed or engines changed or sent away for rebuilding, or, they don't have the time themselves to get the go-karts ready for a race day. So just sending them to us for a general maintenance check and all that sort of stuff. And at the moment, that side of things isn't busy enough to put someone in there full-time to do, but it's getting close to needing to do that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'll be able to get that off my hand pretty soon. And then, yeah, the next part is driver training and trackside assistance, which is really cool. So again, not enough of that going around to palm off to someone else just yet, but ends up having me at the track probably 2 days a week at the moment, doing driver training. We've got the cadet program, we've got the kart leasing program, which we're just about to bring a 4SS kart on board with now as well. So that's going really well. So yeah, just it all adds up, and then all those karts that we're leasing out, they require maintenance as well. Once they come back from a track, they've got a bit of a clean and all that sort of stuff. And really looking at expanding. So we've been putting in plans to build a new shed. So someone's got to draw the design up for that, and relay with the builders what we're after and what we want, and then start acquiring all of the equipment to go inside that shed, which is going to basically become our race go-kart workshop and maintenance area. So that's pretty exciting, looking into next year for the team. But yeah, it's not quiet, that's for sure.
With the shed, are you going to knock down and rebuild, or are you going to attach one that's on the existing block? Yeah,
so basically building a completely new shed from the ground up. It'll have a small little race shop at the front of it, and then out the back will be where we do all the maintenance and stuff on the go-karts. But at the moment I've got, I think it was 11 race karts at work that we're doing various jobs to, 2 that we're building brand new. And then I've still got to build another one for Cody as well. So that's, and they're going on. And then, a few other karts from people as well. So it's no rest for the wicked, as they say. And, I was at the track yesterday with some driver coaching, Friday with some driver coaching. We obviously do kart storage as well. So people who don't have a garage or wanting to get into the sport but don't have the trailer or anything like that, they store the go-kart with us, and then we transport it to the track for them and give them trackside assistance. So it really helps out people that maybe don't have the means to, or they're not quite sure whether they want to jump in fully just yet and go out and spend 20-30k on a trailer and set up like that, and another car or whatever to tow to the track with. But they get it the easy way, and we store all their stuff. We get the cart ready to go to the track, and they just got to rock up with their race suit and stuff and drive. And finding that to be pretty popular at the moment. Yeah.
You'd be speak to a few of the V8 supercar teams that are looking to offload some transporters at the end of the year, mate. But sounds of it, you probably need the room.
In all jokes aside, we've maybe not that big, but we've considered buying a truck in the near future as well. Like it's if I had all the go-karts wanting to go to the track all at once at the moment, we'd be in a bit of strife. But luckily it's not too bad. We can still fit sort of 5. We can still take 5 go-karts at any one time with the rack in the back of the van and the trailer. We can still fit a fair few karts in. So luckily Bolivar's not too far away as well. So it's not too much of a drive.
Yeah, exactly. It's I can't believe how quickly the year has gone in terms of the racing season, and it doesn't feel like there's that much downtime, because before we know it, at the end of, say, January, really, we're back at it again.
Yeah, we've still got the Open Club Day on the 3rd of December, which I'm thinking at Bolivar is going to be, quite well attended for a club day, considering the Nationals. It's sort of the first chance that everyone's got since the Nationals was announced to be at Bolivar for people to come and test, and then Australia Day, which is basically going to be like a Nationals shootout, I suppose. And so I think I've calculated we've got about 6 weeks off, which again, there'll be some testing and stuff done in that time. It's not much rest, that's for sure, but that's motorsport. If you don't keep moving, you get left behind.
Speaking of moving, we're going to be moving around the paddock next week at the Adelaide 500, because we are going to be media, which is really exciting. I'm it's like a little dream come true. If you told me back in 1999 when I was working for Chubb Security at the gates and walking up and down pit straight for the first Adelaide 500 that 20-odd years later I'd be in the media, I would have called you a liar and probably slapped you with a glove or something like that in the French style as well. So, mate, it's going to be cool. Get to hang out with me for 4 days. How blessed are you?
Oh, at least there's plenty of paddock for me to run off into by myself and get away from you for a little while.
You'll be right. I'm not that bad a company, I must confess. But our company is going to be with us very shortly. Todd Hazelwood, who announced that he won't be on the main grid for next year, which is a bit of a shame. We've been wanting to get him on board all year. So to have him have his time with us would be good to catch up and sort of overview the last 12 months, but then also what lays ahead, and have a bit of a review of the up-and-coming event next week, which is arguably behind Bathurst the biggest race on the Supercars Championship. So we will be off to a break, and when we come back, we will have Todd Hazelwood on the show.
Follow us on socials, join us on our website, negativecamber.co, and be sure to subscribe to the Negative Camber Club for access to exclusive content, episode previews, and special deals from our amazing partners.
Brace yourself for the Soddy experience at Pro Karts Race Centre, the official South Australian distributor for Soddy karts. Picture this: karting excellence meets global dominance, all on our local tracks. Soddy karts are more than machines, they're powerhouses of victory. From the heart of France to the South Australian circuit, they dominate in all categories. But that's not all. When you race with a Soddy kart, you're backed by on and off-track technical support directly connected to the factory. It's not just karting, it's the Soddy advantage. Get ready to experience world-class performance, unmatched thrill, and victory like never before. Rev up for the Soddy experience, only at Pro Karts Race Centre. Visit prokartsracecentre.com.au or pop in for a chat at 30 Research Road, Paraka. Pro Karts Race Centre, fueling your passion, igniting your potential.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show. So, we have a special guest here. He's been a long-time friend of us, pretty much since, for the last sort of 2 or 3 years that we've been doing the show. Races for Blanchard Racing Team, and it's his final race at this stage in the main game of the V8 Supercars Championship, the Adelaide 500 on this coming weekend. Got none other than Todd Hazelwood on the line. How are you, TH?
G'day, guys. How are we doing?
Doing all right, man. We're doing all right. How are you? What's been happening?
Very good. It's been a busy few days here in Adelaide, actually, in preparation for the Adelaide 500, but actually just wrapped up the Adelaide Rally, which I've been involved with for the last few days. So, it's been a lot of fun back here at home, I guess, for my home round, and as you mentioned, the final race for not only the Supercars, but my final race as a full-time driver after 6 years within the sport. So, big week ahead.
I think... would you say an emotional one, or because I don't think the book's closed on supercars driving for you at the moment? Would you maybe call it a temporary stopgap?
Yeah, look, the way I look at it, it's definitely a sidestep. Certainly a huge element of unfinished business for me within the sport, and there's certainly a high level of ambition, motivation, and burning desire inside of me to still be in the space of supercars and achieve goals that I've set out to achieve myself personally. So. Look, it's funny. It's a weird feeling, actually. Part of me was, somewhat obviously disappointed not to be on the grid full time next year, but the other part of me, I guess, is lifted and I guess, somewhat of motivation inside me to ensure that taking this opportunity to really focus on setting myself up properly moving forward, position myself to people that I know that are going to get me results, get me in a team that is going to help me achieve the things that I want to achieve in this sport. So, somewhat of a sidestep, but onwards and upwards, as they say. You only get a sore neck from turning backwards, and excited for the future already.
You got a nod of approval there from your what I call your coach, protege, spiritual leader, Lee. Give us I suppose. Look, it's been well covered in the media this year in regards to Gen 3. The punters have obviously had their say. You've obviously been hearing it at all sorts of racetracks, I'd imagine. You've come from, obviously, the ZB, and you're drop into the Gen 3 Mustang this year. Can you describe for us, I guess, what were the big differences in terms of driving the cars, and what was the initial feeling when you were really the first car to roll out in Gen 3 form this year?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, first car out this season, and I guess a huge level of unknown and uncertainty. Trying to get an understanding of what was actually a good, well-balanced race car. We didn't really know, because when the first 2 test days behind the wheel, the thing felt horrible, and I was going, maybe this feeling's actually a good normal. We just didn't know what to compare it to. Yep. So until we went to the first race meeting, and we actually had a pretty strong outing at the Newcastle 500 where we stuck it inside the top 10 of the shootout and on track for a good result there. So, it's a real big adjustment. Obviously, the biggest feeling that we get behind the wheel is the lack of aero. Obviously, that roughly 60% reduction in overall downforce. The car moves around a lot more. It burns up the rear tyres a lot harder. And, it makes managing the tyre a lot trickier as a consequence of that compared to what we had in the past. So, as that tyre degrades and moves around a lot more, it makes it really tricky behind the wheel. But, I guess the other part of Gen 3 is, as you mentioned, it's been well publicised in the media about the word parity. I hate talking about it, but it has been a thing this year, and unfortunately being on the wrong side of the fence with the Ford Mustang has been an incredibly frustrating process. But in this sport, you've got to take the good with the bad, and unfortunately this year hasn't been the year that I certainly hoped and signed up for. But just as I said before, sometimes you just got to place yourself in the right place at the right time to get the results that you want to achieve, and that's what I'll keep working towards in the future.
Yeah, fair enough. Tell us a little bit. I mean, I know when we interviewed Nick Percat earlier in the year, he was quite open with some of the challenges that he faced, in particular on the engine front, especially through Melbourne, when he was talking about mapping issues and drive out of corners and the like. Was that feeling uniform across the grid, or did each individual team have their own challenges with the product and it all just was a bit of a melting pot?
No, I think it was all pretty consistent up and down pit lane. And I guess from the get-go, what we felt behind the wheel, I guess at the start of the year sort of told, everyone's sort of dealing with that issue, both Ford and Camaros, and then obviously it started to become well apparent that it wasn't just the Fords that were suffering from this issue. Obviously, it was clearly evident over a stint that the Fords were suffering from it a lot worse than what the Camaros were. And you could, whether that was when you were behind the hot seat, behind a car, obviously whether it be a Camaro or Ford, you could certainly see where we were putting the power down and where the issue was for the Fords, and you could see that visually when you're behind a car, say like behind another competitor, whereas the Camaros never seemed to visually have that issue at all. And obviously then, the byproduct of that was the poor tyre life. So it's certainly being a sticking issue or sticking point and point of conversation for a good part of 6 to 8 months, and it's been a long journey to try and get it solved. And honestly, I do feel for the guys at Hera Performance who have obviously been involved of running the Ford program this year, because they've worked tirelessly behind the scenes trying to get a better product for us to obviously, to try and get the car competitive and give ourselves a chance of winning races. And some of that has been, having our hands tied behind our back because of honestly, I feel like the lack of structure within supercars, and we haven't been able to get things sorted quick enough. And it's been an incredibly painful process to go through and sit through, because you turn up to the next race weekend and they say they've fixed it, and you turn up again for practice one and bang, the same issue's still there, and we're still talking about the same issue that we were talking about in February. So it's certainly been one of those years, but I feel like the engine front is certainly getting a lot closer now. They made pretty good inroads as we sort of come towards the Enduros, but I guess the other sticking point has been the aero difference as well. So I guess this year the unique thing with Gen 3 that the cars are very similar underneath, but when the cars are very similar, there's no variables, and when the only variable is aero and engine, they're the two issues that stand out like a sore nose, unfortunately. So whereas in the past, we had different engine builders, different front uprights, different roll bars, all the different philosophies of geometry and setup. And, the times are there or thereabouts and very close, but you couldn't really pinpoint what the difference was because all the different teams had different agendas. So now, with there's only been two differences, it's, as I said, it really stands out. And, hopefully with the cars going now into the wind tunnel and some proper testing, we might see a better product moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, this may sound like a silly question, but, how did it affect your motivation? I mean, because it must have been a hard slog for everyone, really, up and down pit lane. But for the Ford teams in particular, I mean, outside of obviously the joy of driving a racing car and doing it for a living in privileged position, et cetera, I mean, what was it that kept you going? Was it the hope that things were going to turn around, or were there other factors at play?
Oh, look, you always hope that it can turn around, because at the end of the day, it's a high-pressure environment. And as you said, we have the pleasure of driving race cars and going fast and having the spotlight on us. But with that spotlight and driving at the pinnacle of the sport, is also all eyes are on you. Your name is on the door, and you're representing, multiple brands that are pumping in millions of dollars. And it's a multi-million-dollar program that we run. So we're all based on performance. So we all need to succeed, and we all need to perform and do a good job. So when you're not performing, do a good job. It's not, you're not really enjoying it all, because you feel that pressure. You know that you need to perform to do a good job and keep your name on the grid moving forward. So, I guess from a driver's point of view, the way I look at it, like being the sackable CEO as a driver, it's we're all replaceable. There's plenty of other drivers that have all got their hand up and wanting to drive. So it's certainly been a stressful year on that front, because you know that you're not getting the results that need to be able to get to stay in the sport and keep the dream alive, from my point of view. And, I look back at points this year. We've been, especially at the start of the year, we're at some stages, at multiple occasions, we're the lead Mustang, but we were still fifth, or we're still fourth, or we're still eighth. And, we're the lead Mustang. So if roles were reversed, we might have had an awesome year and had something to celebrate, but that certainly hasn't been the case for us.
When did you get an indication that things weren't going to be solid for you going into 24? I mean, because from the outside it was assumed that you had a or at least a 2-year deal, but did you get an inkling early on in the piece that things aren't looking great here, I need to assess my options, or were you blindsided by it?
No, definitely not blindsided. I guess been in this industry now for 10 years within supercars and 6 years in the full-time game, you certainly understand and appreciate how this game works. And at the end of the day, it is a big business, and I certainly didn't get caught my pants down on this occasion. But, it's one of those things. And unfortunately, there was 3 drivers that the team wanted, and there was only 2 spots available. So I certainly knew that having Aaron Love being promoted within the team was always going to be on the cards, and fully supported that, and that was no issue. But obviously, the wild card scenario was James Courtney coming to the fold, obviously with Tickford announcing with their downscaling to 2 cars, and with JC and his alliance with Snowy River Caravans and everything like that. I guess that opportunity for the team at BRT, it was a too good of an opportunity for them to refuse. But unfortunately, the byproduct, or the damage, was Todd loses out on a drive. So I could, I guess, sense that there was an opportunity or a scenario that it wasn't going to work in my favour, and still felt like even going into Bathurst that there was probably a 70 to 30% opportunity that probably was in my favour, but still on hope that things might work in my favour. But things didn't work out, but still appreciate and very, very thankful for the opportunity that the family at Cool Drive Auto Parts and Tim and John Blanchard gave me the opportunity this year to obviously drive their car and represent their family name. It's been a privilege. So certainly no skin off the back, but as I said, it would have been nice to continue on, because I felt like, for me, we've had, I guess, there's been a lot of issues within the team that's been out of my control this year, that I've tried to do my best and play the part and be a team player, but didn't get the reward from that after all. So that was a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, as I said, it's a business. We're a multi-million-dollar industry, and sometimes cards work in your favour, and it's sunshine and rainbows, and sometimes they don't. And when there's only 24 spots available on the grid of supercars, it's a super cutthroat industry. We can, it's essentially 1 in a million in the country to be on the grid of supercars. So for me, I'm really fortunate where, I guess, off the back of that, I'm still able to retain a spot within the industry. I'll still be within the paddock next year, and I'll still be as a co-driver in a front-running team, which I'm pretty excited about.
Great. So it sounds like you've got some opportunities lined up already for next year, or is that something that you're still working on at the moment?
A bit of both, yeah. Certainly working hard to try and give myself the very best opportunity to taste success in supercars. That was, I guess, off the back of this, that was goal number one for me, and I feel like I'm getting closer to locking that in, which is cool. Still nothing signed, sealed, and delivered yet. So if I could tell you, I would, trust me. But and I guess outside of that, what does Todd do outside of supercars and do throughout the year? That's what I'm trying to lock down and secure at the moment. So whether that's running in the Porsche Carrera Cup for the year, or maybe even something in TAT or TCR or V8 Utes, whatever it may be. Just trying to look for the best opportunity. I guess for me, the last few years, I've put my heart, energy, and soul into everything that I do, and felt like I haven't reaped the rewards from that. So I really want to make sure whatever I do next year, I'm going to ensure that I'll be tasting success along the way. I'm a person that's driven by success. That's what makes my world go round, and I want to make sure that whatever I do it competitively, do it well. And I'm a big believer you're only as good as the people around you. So that's certainly priority number 2 outside of the competitive co-drives, and have a bit of fun as well. There's some categories and there's some forms of motorsport or other things out of motorsport that I've always wanted to do, but probably haven't had the luxury of time to be able to pull it off. So next year is a bit of a gap year, I guess, if you call it. So certainly going to try and make the most of that opportunity and try and drive some cool things, go to some cool events, and see what the year brings us. But I certainly won't be bored, put it that way. I'll be a busy boy, that's for sure.
Some of those other classes that you're thinking of, do any of them involve heading overseas, and what lights Todd up? What if outside of a competitive co-drive, what would you take if you could have your pick of any series for next season?
Yeah, it's a good question, Lee, because the list is far and long.
Yeah, I know you well enough. That list is about 25 pages long.
Yeah, exactly. So, I actually had the opportunity to sit in the passenger seat in a hot lap with a rally car this year, Australian Rally Championship, in an ARC2 level, WRC2 level rally car. And I'll tell you what, that was awesome, and I loved it. So I'd love to try and maybe do 1 or 2 rounds in a rally car this year, if I could, into 2024. If that's something I could pull off, that would be really cool. I'm actually in talks at the moment with a couple of people that have got a couple of sprint cars. So, as you know, I've got a bit of a dirt background and always loved the idea of getting behind the wheel of a 360 or 410. So, but I guess those sort of things that they sound cool and they're an awesome thing to do, but it really hasn't been on my career path or trajectory moving forward. So to do something, something a bit left of field and have a bit of fun, that excites me. I guess I've been in this industry for a long time, and within the industry of supercars for 10 years now, and it does eat at you. It's an industry that it takes all of your time, takes all of your energy, and it's an emotional roller coaster. And when you have more bad days than good days, it certainly eats at you. So I guess for me, try and use the future as a way of getting me excited again and have a bit of fun. But as I said, I'm still competitive by nature. I'll certainly, whatever I want to do it properly, and I want to win. So so who knows what the future may hold, but I've certainly got my hand up for anything and trying to make as many phone calls as I can to anyone out there to try and keep my backside racing and do it well.
And all of these phone numbers start with +61, or do they go a little bit abroad with some of those phone calls?
There's a couple of broad ones. So who knows? Obviously the GT Asia market is something that I'm talking with at the moment. I'm really fortunate. I've got some really good links with Motul and essentially Motul overseas, outside of Australia. They've got a massive footprint in the world of motorsport. So I'm not going to lie, I'm certainly leaning on those guys for an opportunity to try and open up some opportunities elsewhere. That would be amazing. But it's I guess that's a bit of a pipe dream. If I could pull it off, that'd be great. If not, it's not the end of the world, I guess. But we'll see what happens. And as I said, I'll drive anything, as long as it goes fast and we can have some fun.
I know a guy that sits across the desk that's looking to expand his go-kart team and has dabbled in and is wanting to dabble a little bit on the AKC front. What do you reckon? You might poke your head out at some AKC races next year?
Hey, who knows? I've got a cart in the trailer as well that's collecting dust more than what I'd like. So maybe we should have a chat afterwards and make it happen.
See, I've set you up, mate. That's right. The check's in the mail, Lee.
We're dream team back together, yeah, for sure. That'd scare a few people, I think. Could put you in some tag races and represent the brand.
Well, CRG, yeah, absolutely. Represent that CRG, Toddy. That's what you got to do.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it,
mate. I wanted to. You're right in regards to, like, from the outside looking in. I caught up with you at the bend, and it was only for a couple of minutes, but you did look like you had the weight on the world on your shoulders at that point in time. So when you're saying that it was demotivating and the like as well, I mean, you could see it physically, you know. And I mean, I've been privileged enough to catch up with you on a few occasions now, especially when you've been here in Adelaide. And you've always been a very happy-go-lucky, you know, and a really calm, placid, and approachable guy. So we could read your facial expression straight away that, you know, you weren't really in a good space. So to hear the fact that you've got opportunities there and you've got, you know, and I think you're doing the right thing in terms of taking a step back, reassessing what's out there, and obviously the objective is winning. You just want to win. You know, who wants to? You've made up a lot of the minor places for too long now in equipment that is probably not equivalent to your talent. So, and all you have to do is look at the qualifying session for Sandown this year, where you're on a solo track by yourself without the aid of the draft or whatever. You've plucked a top 5 time, while everyone else was having to use the draft, and they couldn't beat you. You'd set it 5 minutes before the end of the session, and the track was still evolving. That's a class act, in my opinion, anyway.
No, thank you, mate. It's that's it. You know, you summed it up well. You know, we're as I mentioned before, we're in an industry where it's cutthroat. The pressure's always on, and I love pressure. You know, I always say pressure builds diamonds, and you need to embrace the hustle. And you know, I don't care if I have to work 10 times harder than the next person. I will. I'll roll those sleeves up and I'll get it done. I've always had that attitude. But when you've got that attitude and you know what needs to be done to achieve at the top of the level, and you can see visually in front of you what's just simply not being achieved, and there are elements that are out of your control at the end of the day. That's when it becomes quite frustrating. So, you probably might have seen a little bit of an animated Todd at certain stages at that weekend, Jamie. But yeah, like that's the sort of intensity and pressure that, you know, probably like most drivers do. But, you know, for me personally, that's how I operate. When the helmet's on, that's the sort of intensity, and that's the sort of level that I try to work towards outside of that happy-go-lucky figure, I guess. You know, I always, you know, try to represent myself well when it comes to the TV and talk in front of the camera, always in a positive light, because, you know, we are in a very fortunate position where we are racing race cars, and I am living the dream that I wanted to achieve. At the end of the day, I'm still out there trying to do the best job that I can, and I put, you know, pressure on myself, but I also put pressure on other people to strive for that same level of performance, because if you don't, then what's the point of doing it? You know, I always believe if you're in the top level of motorsport or any form of motorsport and you want to go out there and win, you do it properly, you don't do it at all. I've always stuck by that motto. So, for me, I guess there's probably less than 5 teams in pit lane at the moment in Supercars that are capable of winning, in my opinion, you know, week in, week out. Mm-hmm. And if you can't replicate what those guys are doing or can't take a leaf out of their book, there's something wrong. So, I might upset people when I say that, but at the end of the day, that's just reality. You know, you always need to be your own biggest critic. You always need to look back at what you can do better, good, bad, and different. There's no point being tapped on the shoulder and trying to get someone to boost your ego, because that's not going to help you be faster and be better. So you always need to be the tough critic in the room. Now, whether that starts at the top of the team or management or whatever, or engineering, I always say to people, always tell me what I can do better, because at the end of the day, if I'm not being told to go faster, then that's not going to help anyone.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on where the sport's heading? Obviously, the new calendar's come out. They've gone with 12 races again next year for a variety of reasons. And it looks like that parity, and now that obviously with the wind tunnel testing and the like as well, that's actually going to settle itself a little bit. Where are you seeing... Oh, we've got some activity going on back there. It's
big going on.
I've just been joined by 5 kids playing hide and seek. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're all right. I had my kids in the studio a fortnight ago,
I'm
mate.
in the corner, and now they've all started screaming. Yeah.
They found you, mate.
Yeah, they've found me. Yeah.
We had my kids in the studio a couple of weeks ago, mate, so I know what it's like with a bit of chaos and bedlam in the background, so that's all good. But, where are you seeing the sport over the next couple of years? I mean, obviously, new calendars come out. You've got the 12 races again. You know, there's been talk about the push to get more. Clearly, going back to New Zealand is a good thing as well. But, is it, if you look at the punters and you read, and it's dangerous reading social media, but if you're looking at social media, everyone's predicting doom and gloom. But then attendance figures and stuff like that would seem to be that the sport is slowly getting back to its heyday in the mid-2000s. Where do you see it from the driver's seat and maybe from the outside looking in?
Look, I guess before I say anything, I sit on the fence. I want the best for the sport, and I hate talking negative about our sport for sure. But reality is, the way I look at it, Gen 3 and the introduction of Gen 3 was meant to be the saviour of our sport. It was meant to be cheaper, affordable, and essentially give us the ability to race more for a much more cost-effective price and make the sport commercially viable. Because in my opinion, at the moment, the sport's not commercially viable. We don't race enough. The cars cost too much. They're too labour-intensive, and that's it to a T, really, unfortunately. But moving forward, as you said, the sport won't die. The sport will always be here. We might go through a little bit of a peak and trough moment, I guess, at the moment. But the way I look at it, the thing that frustrates me is that the teams are having to pick up the slack of what has been achieved within the sport, the four worlds of supercars. There's just simply not enough action happening, in my opinion. It needs to be done more to try and make the sport more entertaining, make it more approachable for the everyday viewer, but also make it exciting for new viewers. I think what's keeping our sport alive at the moment is that obviously, A, we are family friendly, and that's great. And B, we've still got our die-hard fans that either love or hate the sport, but they all still turn up and watch us on race day. They still buy a ticket, they still come through the gates and they cheer us on, which is amazing. And I can't thank them enough for that. But the consistent comment from everyone at the moment, whether that's both internally within the sport or from a fan or someone sitting in the grandstand on a weekend, that they want more from us. They want more events. They want to see us 2 to 3 times a weekend, not just once a month. In my opinion, the way I look at it, like when I first got involved in supercars in 2018, there was 16 events, and now there's only 12. Fast forward in the clock, all these years later, and every year it feels like there's nothing. In my opinion, I feel like there was a half a step forward with Gen 3, but there were 2 steps back. So I think the byproduct of Gen 3 will get better in time, but there also needs to be more done behind the scenes to make the sport better. So, look, I hope that's the case. As I said to you before, it's still a sport that I love. It's still a sport that I'm passionate about. But I also do want to see it to be better, because I think I truly believe the sport has got all the ingredients to be something special. But we just need some people that have got the balls to make some big decisions to make the sport bigger than what it currently is at the moment.
Yeah, well said. And I think that would reflect many in the paddock, and I suppose many commentators and sort of what I call reasoned pundits, because there's some out there that are just space cadets, but in my opinion, and that's only my opinion. But I think it's sound reasoning, to be honest. I think it's probably quite a balanced point of view to have. And you're right in the thick of it, but I'm sure that there's plenty, if we really quizzed on it, that have probably been even more vocal than yourself throughout the year as well. So
I think you can just look at Shane Van Gisbergen voting with his feet and heading off to America, where he can race 36 times a year.
Yeah, look, correct. So, the way I look at it, I could do more racing next year running 2 different sport categories than what I did all of this year in Supercars. So for me...
Probably save some money.
Well, save some money and probably potentially make some money for once. Who knows? Because I actually have some time to dedicate myself to do something properly. So, it's a crazy world we live in. But as I said, I've still got... this is not me being sour grapes because I haven't got to drive next year in Supercars. Honestly, hand on heart, it's still the sport that I want to race in, and it's still the sport I want to succeed in. But I just feel like it should be better than where it is currently at the moment.
Yeah. Mate, hang on the line. We're just going to head off to a break, and then when we come back, let's do a bit of a preview for the Adelaide 500, hey?
Very good.
A huge thank you goes out to our podium partner, Procast Race Centre, and our incredible sponsors. Your partnership allows us to continue bringing you this show and dive deeper into the world of motorsports. If your business adds value to the motorsport community, get in touch with us to become a Negative Camber partner.
Get ready to ignite your racing passion at Procast Race Centre, your ultimate destination for motorsport excellence. Our track isn't just a playground, it's a classroom where 25 years of racing knowledge come to life. Imagine having a team of seasoned experts guiding you from the rookie to the pro. Our driver coaching services aren't just about finding those elusive extra tenths on the track, they're about moulding winners. With hands-on guidance, racing line tips and data analysis, you'll not only experience the thrill of speed, but the satisfaction of victory. Join us and witness the transformation of your racing game as our expertise propels you to the forefront of the competition. Visit prokartsracecentre.com.au or pop in for a chat at 30 Research Road, Paraka. Prokarts Race Centre, fueling your passion, igniting your potential.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the Motorsport Show. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. We've got our special guest, Todd Hazelwood, on the line. Toddy, before we talk about the Adelaide 500, just quickly, Rusty was co-driver. Is he going to be your future navigator if you do head into the rallying world, or you got someone else in mind?
Look, I love my dad, but he doesn't know his rights and lefts very well. So we had a lot of fun on the rally. Last year it was almost a disaster from stage one. And fortunately, this year we actually had digital sat-nav, so it was a bit of a laughing matter. But maybe if I did something a little bit more competitive, I might have to either train Dad up or maybe find someone at least knows their left and right's a bit better.
Yeah. But touched on the Adelaide rally. You had a bit of stuff on social media. You're driving a pretty cool car. Tell us about the car that you had the keys to for the weekend, and some of the favourite stages that you drove on through the Adelaide Hills. Yeah,
thanks, Lee. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Second year driving. The event organiser's car, actually, Tim Possingham, his 1978 911 Porsche. It's bright yellow, turboed, and tell you what, it goes like a cut snake. It's a lot of fun, actually. But it looks fast, but behind the wheel, you certainly feel like you're driving a 70s car. The steering's heavy. It gets brake fade pretty quick, and I think the tyres are pretty old on it as well. So, going through the hills, even though we were speed limited to 100, it felt like we were doing 200 in some of the stages because I felt alive behind the wheel of a car like that. You know, it's really cool to have the mechanical feel, and we loved it. It was such a ball, really good bunch of people, and for me, I guess driving on through stages of the hills and some of the roads that I grew up on as a kid, ripping around with Dad and all that sort of stuff. There was one section there which wound its way down, actually going down the corkscrew through Gorge Road and up into Chainer Ponds. And for me, that's an amazing section of road, and to have it to yourself legally, a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I share your sentiment there with driving an old car. I had an old Ferrari that I got to hot lap around the bend not that long ago on a track day, and to feel the rawness of a car like that and get to wring its neck a little bit is an experience unto itself. But a bit of a step. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you had a McLaren last year. Were you driving?
So I actually drove that same Porsche last year, but the year before, it was actually at the Adelaide Motorsport Festival. I drove the McLaren. So. It went from a brand new car to something that was, 40 years older. So, I guess something a little bit older is probably suiting me well, because that's certainly right up my alley when it comes to Todd's taste. Yeah,
100%. You've got plenty of time next year to work on that Zephyr that's been coming along since 2004 almost.
Exactly. Yeah, I might actually get it done for once. So, who knows?
How's the big yellow wagon going? Seeing it's been making some appearances in print media, and also with your dad as well with his version.
Yes, exactly. No, it's the wagon's going good, and it's just an awesome cruise. It's a lot of fun. It's big and it's slow, and it goes from 0 to 60 in about 2.3 minutes. So it's it's cool, and I guess the thrill of going fast doesn't exist when you're driving around on the streets. You just want to have fun getting there. So, the wagon's great for that. And, the Zephyr is currently right in the middle of its restoration. I actually picked it up from the sandblasters Thursday this week. And I tell you, I've got some work to do, but it's exciting to start making some progress on it.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Speaking of streets, the streets of Adelaide come alive again for the Adelaide 500, a race that a lot of the South Aussie drivers campaigned really hard for its return, and its successful return last year, it's got to be said. Give us a bit of an insight as to some of the challenges that you've got that you have behind the wheel doing the two 250k races.
Oh, look, it's one of the best events of the year, but also one of the toughest tracks that we get to race on. It's demanding to obviously put a lap together, and it's even more tougher to try and survive the race alone. 250 Ks around that circuit, your feet are hot from lap 10. It's always traditionally a pretty hot event in itself, and roughly 2.5 to 3 kilos of fluid loss in each race. So by Sunday night, you're absolutely spent. It takes every ounce of energy out of you, and I guess that's why we all love it, because it's such a hardcore challenge to do well at that circuit. And the track itself has got every type of challenge available. It's fast and flowing in some sections, tight and twisty in others, a bit agricultural with bumps and curbs. It's the ultimate thrill behind the wheel.
If you had to, how much of the setup would you carry over from, say, Gold Coast into this particular track? Is there a lot of crossover? Are there going to be some changes that you need to make from a setup point of view?
Yeah, there's a little bit of crossover being, traditionally a street circuit. Probably the only difference going into Adelaide actually is that, we have got faster, longer open corners. So we have to be more aware of that, so we can tune our spring rates up, and our philosophy of how we make turn in the car probably isn't as aggressive as compared to the V-ing or 90-degree corners, as we call it, at Gold Coast. But you certainly obviously want to have curb compliance with your ride heights and things like that as well. So that's all very similar. But the unique thing going to Adelaide this year is that the surface was resurfaced, brand new surface last year, and obviously this year we're not expecting too much wear and tear. So traditionally with that, you probably up your front spring rate to be able to cop, the extra load that you're going to get from extra grip and things like that. But there's certainly a lot of crossover between the two setups as opposed to a setup from Bathurst. The setup at Bathurst is miles different compared to the setup we'd run at Adelaide, for instance.
Yeah, and I guess from that perspective, obviously you've got the two 250k races. I mean, what's your feeling, given the vastly improved performance of the Mustang at Surfers? What's your feeling like going into these two races? Do you think you'll be in with a genuine shot, or is it going to be a little bit more difficult?
Oh, look, we'll be giving everything we got. I'm pretty motivated to try and finish the year on a high. Obviously, it's my home event. It's an event in a circuit that I love, and as I said before, I've got some unfinished business in Supercars. Now, whether I achieve that this coming weekend or not is unknown, but I'm going to be giving everything I've got, and there's no better feeling going into the Christmas period on a high. So hopefully that's the case for us.
Well, given your recent track record, mate, we I think last year's show we tipped a top 10 qualifying performance. You achieved that. And in a few cases, you've actually been in top 10 shootouts and have actually finished quite well in the 250k races. So previous form is an omen. You're in for a good weekend.
Look, I certainly hope so, guys. That sounds good to me. So bring it on.
Yeah, and then obviously myself and Lee are going to be hovering around the pit lane too. So we'll obviously put our good luck charms into the BRT pit, and I don't know. I'm going to have a bit of a contest between your mum and Lee for who has their fingers crossed the longest over the course of the 250k heats.
I reckon you might win. You might lose that battle. I reckon. I think Mum's got you covered.
Yeah, I reckon Sharon's got me hands down there. That's for sure. I reckon her fingers are permanently crossed at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of your mum, she did have a recent hot lap that was actually you put up on, or she posted on social media as well. She held herself quite well. It's not like the wild effort that we've heard about in previous cases.
No, she actually conducted herself quite well, much to my surprise. So, it was funny when he actually talking about that yesterday. She jumped in the car with me at Sandown, and I thought this is probably a track that might frighten Mum, but she didn't squeal, so she was well behaved. So she's come a long way in 10 years, put it that way.
I think she's pretty much put that video under lock and key. There's no way that any of that footage of the original hot lap is going to come out, unfortunately. It would be a sight to see, I've got to say.
I think it would be a very high bidder to make that video be released, put it that way.
Absolutely, mate. So I guess, leading into... Oh, by the way, before I forget, yes, Alice, she was doing SAS. Was that right? Earlier this year, she had a crack at that.
$1 Million Island.
Not quite SAS.
Oh,
$1 Million Island.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Yeah, 100 crazy contestants that all went onto a deserted island, and she did quite well. So it was awesome.
Yeah, what was that experience like? It must have been... How long was she on there for? She'd be away for, I guess, between filming and then obviously the release and that type of thing.
Yeah, so it was about just under a month. So it was 28 days. So, she flew over to Malaysia and, got sent off to a deserted island. And, she handed her phone in and she said, I said, I hope I don't hear from you for a month, because that was the length of the filming program. So, she made it to the final day of filming, and I didn't know if she was how she was going, if she was in the top 10 or top 50, or she was dead or alive. I didn't know. Every time my phone went off for those 20 days, it was, I was jumping at the phone, just didn't know what to expect. But she called me at 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning when she'd just made it back to the island and been eliminated on the final day. So, super proud of her to make it to the final day out of 100 contestants, to essentially come fifth, just miss out on the top 3 with prize money. But overall, really cool experience. And, she did really well.
Man, that would have been really weird. 28 days or whatever it was without hearing from her. That would have been... I don't know how you would have coped. Some say it would have been a blessing.
No, for me, it was, obviously Alice and I are very close and we do everything together. But, for us to... just not knowing what was happening, and didn't really know a lot about the show, to be honest, either. So, I guess there was a high element of uncertainty of what was actually happening. So you just sort of, in that instance, you just sort of hope that everything's going well and that she's safe and, everything goes to plan. So, sorry about the screaming kids in the background.
No, I'm used to it. Don't worry.
They found you again. You didn't hide good enough.
Yeah, that's it. I need to go hiding again.
We're very quickly before we wrap up, mate. Most of the team's staying obviously in hotels around Adelaide and that type of thing. Do you stay with your parents in at the family home, or do you sort of liaise with the team and stay in the same area as them?
So I'll be staying with Mum and Dad leading up to the event, and then from Wednesday onwards I'll stay with the team. It's just I guess with the early mornings and long days and late nights, it just makes it a lot easier to just keep with the team and stay united as a group and travel together. But come Sunday night, I'll be back with Mum and Dad, and we'll have a few spritzers to celebrate the year.
Absolutely, I think, and hopefully it's going to be a well-earned and well-deserved result. So, mate, been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you once again. We will see you in a few days' time.
Yes, look forward to it, and look forward to catching up in the back of the pits and, getting together once again.
No worries. I'll make sure Lee brings the contract for the AKC for next year.
Sounds good. Sign me up.
You can thank me.
Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. All right, TH, good to speak to you, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Likewise, guys. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Todd Hazelwood, ladies and gents, from the Blanchard Racing team, South Australia's born and bred, and one of the leading drivers in the Viet Supercar field. Fingers crossed that we see Todd in a prominent position with a bit of a career resurrection next year.
You've reached the checkered flag of another episode of Negative Camber the Motorsport Show, proudly brought to you by ProKarts Race Centre. A huge thank you to you, our incredible listeners. Your support and passion for motorsports fuels our enthusiasm to bring you the latest results, analysis, and interviews from the racing world. Keep that FOMO at bay by subscribing to Negative Camber on your favourite podcast platform. We'd also love it if you could leave us a review and share the show with your fellow racing enthusiasts. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, Negative Camber is more than just a podcast. We're a community of dedicated fans who live and breathe motorsports. Follow us on socials, join us on our website, negativecamber.co, and be sure to subscribe to the Negative Camber Club for access to exclusive content, episode previews, and special deals from our amazing partners. Until next time, stay fueled with passion, embrace the Negative Camber, and keep chasing those podium finishes.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.